Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Of course, I forget to turn the mic back on. So yesterday we had CPI, today we had PPI, and it's looking like a repeat of yesterday. Number better than expected. Let's hear. Let me pull up the numbers here real quick. Core PPI month over month negative spot 1 versus an expected spot 3. That's actually a really big change. But the treasuries spiked big and have come all the way back. I'm just hearing over the news squawk that the 30-day ceasefire is hasty and they will need to be updated to reflect in order to get Russia to sign on to it. Okay. Anyways, to the charts. So here we got the treasuries again yesterday. Big spike up on CPI and then kind of just middling around the rest of the day here in the overnight session. We're pushed down just a tad bit, and again another spike, but it's not really going. S&P 500, well, the S&P 500 had an okay rally at first, but then as the actual session started, they sold off on it. We haven't really moved that far in all reality. Same with oil, it's kind of middle of the range. Gold looks pretty good. Silver looks pretty good. Copper kind of recovering after that big rush up. Japanese yen working along. So, not really seeing a whole lot of change across the market. And Bitcoin, not really anything too interesting either. So, this is interesting because this is a sort of a situation that would lead to a range day. Range-bound day. Let's see here. What do we got here? We got 30-year bond auction. And that's pretty much... Oh, yeah, we got initial jobless claims, 220 versus 225, with the with the continued jobless claims coming down just slightly, 1.87 versus 1.88. So they're kind of pressuring the bottom side of this. There was a decent amount of delta sell off of this CPI. So and they're coming up there. That there could be a real move here. But I don't think that I have anything today that really predicts the flows. I think that we'll just sit here and let a robot take trades. By the way, how many... It did take a trade yesterday, by the way, that was a winner. Yeah, only one, though. And it only made, like... Where is it? 43.86. Only made like 3 ticks on it. I think that the favorable excursion on it was much further than that, though. I think as we live test this and everything, I think what you should see is higher than normal favorable excursion. Yeah, the market should be rallying on the backdrop of such good CPI and PPI prints. I would think so. But, you know, why have the markets sold off so much? Well, I really think it's two things. I mean, the obvious one is volatility from Donald Trump and trade wars and so forth, right? But I think that the other one is that the market was just overvalued. And I kind of think that we're probably still overvalued, to be honest with you. So I could see the S&P 500 dropping considerably more. Like, I'm not seeing Warren Buffett all of a sudden like, okay, it's time to go buy everybody. Like, I don't think that's happening. He's probably still in cash and waiting for it to get much, much lower. So, you know, those two things. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily expect the S&P 500 to be like up massively off of these PPI reports, but I would expect the treasury yields to be coming down. That's the thing that I find a little bit curious and disconcerting, is that it seems like that the Federal Reserve is probably going to continue cutting interest rates in June, possibly as early as June, and then they might cut interest rates 3 more times this year, and that should be a really good thing for the bond market. Why are we pushing 110.16 now? That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And of course, it's the orders that determine where we go, not necessarily the fundamentals. But what is the fundamentals at play right now? That is, or sorry, not what is the orders, rather. What are the orders at play right now that are selling? I'm just not seeing it. So that's going to happen sometimes. We're only going to have slight windows where we can really see and expect an imbalance. So we just kind of have to wait and see what happens, and maybe we get some more information that helps us understand why they're selling the treasuries. I wonder if I come back on to ZN, like on a daily chart. I wonder if we're getting mean reversion coming into the treasuries. Two days ago, Canada files. You know what? I saw that story actually. And I went and I read the release on it, and it seemed to me that people were like way what is the word? Misrepresenting what it actually was. So what this actually is Canada is gonna offer a new bond that is denominated in dollars. So a lot of people were presenting it as like, oh no, Canada is selling off all of the bonds that they own, blah, blah, you know. No, it's not that. It's just Canada is going to be taking out more debt in dollars. Is that a sell pressure on the market? I guess, but I wouldn't expect that to be any more than the average offering that we get in the private market from, you know, companies offering bonds, you know? So the last time I saw it, there was a number attached to it, but it just, I only saw that on Reddit, you know? I only saw that on Reddit, so I just kind of assumed that it was a small enough float to not matter. So I suppose we could put that on the list of suspects, but I still kind of doubt that it's that. Inflation, high national debt is the culprit. Rich folks don't know where to put their money, but markets keep pace with inflation. Oh, well, okay. So on that point, the metrics that I've seen has been that most of the money is in the market and that there's not a lot of money on the side. So I don't know. I mean, one of the things that I would say about the past 2 days is that is not really really hasn't been that significant of a flow in the treasuries relative to what's going on. So for all I know, it's just random. I guess the one thing that's going on that we haven't really talked about is that there are bond auctions, and that's the U.S. government offering bonds. And perhaps it is the case that the U.S. that the market is just having a hard time absorbing that supply. Which that is, if that's the case, that's a little concerning, because you would think that if there's any time where people would want to have bonds, it would be now. Yeah, if they really believed that the stock market is in decline, then they would buy bonds. Well, I don't know. Like, okay, so I don't think that that's completely correct, because if, for instance, you believed that there was going to be stagflation, then you wouldn't necessarily buy bonds. And the metrics that we're getting look pretty stagflationary. If you think that the stock market is overvalued, do you buy bonds in that case? I'm not entirely sure. Right? Like, if you think that the stock market is overvalued and that there's going to be a temporary mean reversion return back to value period of 3 to 6 months, do you buy bonds in that situation? Maybe. Because, I mean, where else are you going to put it? But But again, you come back and you look at that daily chart, and it's kind of like, well, we came up to the 200-day moving average. We're having a hard time staying above it. Seems like Treasury market might be in in terms of CTA positioning, might be in kind of a little bit of a mean reversion kind of a period. And I don't know, for a Thursday, it's a Thursday, right? So for today, I'm thinking that likely means a really quiet day for us. Okay, so as I'm saying that, we're starting to get a buy-in pulse coming to the treasuries. So per CBS, 60% of Americans say the U.S. economy is bad. I tell you what, man, it is super frustrating right now talking to regular people about economics, because it's just like you really have to understand the stats and the measures to see what's going on right now. And, there's a group of people that think that this is Biden's economy, and Biden's economy was just absolutely amazing. So we have like full employment and everything's hunky dory. And, they're not able to see the things that, like, within specific industries, especially the tech industry, is just a complete, absolute shit show. Oh, Donald Trump is tweeting. Be careful. You know what that reminds me of? Whatever happened with Truth Social, the stock? Let's see here. There we go. Trump Media Group. Oh, no. We need like a daily chart. Oh, that's funny. I still have the move. Oh, I totally forgot about that. We can do that. Donald is waiting for us to stream before he says stuff. Maybe. If only I was that popular. Well, they are actually trading in DJT at some of the worst levels since like October. You believe that? I think this jump right here was the one where yeah, 'cause it was like July when they had the debate and Biden did so terrible. So think that was that spike. Here's the election spike. That's really not working out. So for those of you that haven't been paying attention to this saga, I bought DJT like the first day that like became a big thing, and I bought in at like 40 and sold it 120 or something like that, and then the next day took it off because I did not like what I was seeing about the company itself. It was like, okay, well, so maybe there's this play like Donald Trump will come back and that will make the network popular and stuff. But when I look at the company itself, I see a shit show. I see a service that isn't run very well, with management that knows absolutely nothing about managing, let alone managing social networks. And this is not a company that I think I invest in and hold for years and years and years. But the play was still, well, Donald Trump is going to tweet on Truth Social. People are going to tune into it. It's not working out so well for the stock. While we're at it, shall we look at Tesla? Tesla. Okay, so Tesla, the people have been making a lot of noise about Tesla because, you know, it's going down, and they're saying, oh, well, the reason that people own Tesla is because they think that Elon Musk is a savant genius that knows what he's doing, yada, yada, yada. Well, there was a big, and now that he's involved in Doge and everything else, like there's a problem with the company, right? Well, okay, first of all, we're just giving up the gains that we had after the election. Okay. When you go further back and realize that Tesla was like kind of crazy before. So I knew a guy. Oh, it won't let me see it that far back. I knew a guy that he was in Tesla going way back to like 2008 or something like that, and he made massive amount on that. Anyways, I think that the reason that the Tesla stock has done so well is because it's like it's got the name recognition. It's been the most popular, and that seems to have this effect that attracts more investment. Has nothing to do with the strength of the company. I kind of think that going back all the way back to here, that I've had serious questions about the valuation of Tesla, you know? So on one hand, it's kind of like I think that people are making too much of a deal over the decline that we've had in Tesla so far. But then on the other hand, I really have always felt that Tesla shouldn't be worth even a fraction of what it is, you know? You think Uzi thinks that progressives protesting Tesla is going to make conservatives buy more electric cars than they otherwise would? Reactionary consumerism? I'm okay. I mean, I guess I don't really have a strong opinion on that, but my knee-jerk reaction is probably not. But that I'm probably only saying that because my knee-jerk reaction is I still don't want a Tesla. Like, there's been points at which I thought, well, maybe having a Cybertruck would be kind of cool. But then as it got closer to it, it was like it took forever for them to get it out. And the price for it, because the thing was it was supposed to be affordable. And it wasn't, because everybody was trying to buy them. And then all of the quality issues with them and everything. Like, you could not get me to buy a Tesla. Because fundamentally, I think that they're shit cars. Might get canceled out by progressive boycotts, though, so on balance, maybe no real impact? I don't know. One of the jobs that I interviewed at that I didn't get was at a bank, a local bank, and they had a really nice headquarters here in Salt Lake, and part of their headquarters was that they had one of those parking garage, like a new parking garage where everything was covered and the top was covered in solar panels, and then they had tons of electric vehicle charging stations. So like all of the employees had electric vehicles and stuff. And I remember going through that, and that was like just after we had like that really cold spell at the beginning of the winter season. You remember that, when it was like first people had problems with their electric cars when the hurricanes hit, and then people had problems with their electric cars when the freeze hit Chicago. And I was looking at all these electric cars, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get, because I remember, I want to say 2012-ish time period, when there was a period when, actually, let me try and look up when this was, because it was a time when like oil was really moving, right? Maybe it was more like no, 2014 seems about right. Yeah, 2012, 2014-ish time period. And I thought, oh man, the price of oil is so much, and I just really hated having to spend the money on gas, and that irritated me so much that I was like, I hope that my next car is an electric vehicle. And then what happened was Tesla kind of took off, and I learned all of the things about electric cars, and now I'm like, there's no way I'll ever buy one. I don't know if I'll ever buy an electric car, to be honest with you. I'm hoping that I can just go straight to hydrogen, Like when conservatives banned all their NFL merch just to buy it back a year later. But you know what? I don't really feel like that the NFL really ever recovered from that one. A Trump family has been in talks for a stake in the crypto exchange Binance. Wow. I'm not seeing Bitcoin jump on that. Maybe we are the informed traders, man. Maybe the play is buy Bitcoin for once. Why do I feel like Trump's entire second term is just a covert entry into the crypto scam market? Dude, this whole thing is just wild to me. Because I think that what has happened, I don't think that Donald Trump really knows anything about crypto. I don't think that he really cares anything about crypto, but he has some advisors. And, when I say advisors, I mean like rich guys whispering in his ear. Elon Musk being one, Peter Thiel being one, but the big one being, is his name David Sachs, who is kind of like Trump's crypto czar, right? and so it's these people that are doing all of that stuff. And so I think what you're really seeing is Donald Trump has brought the crypto world to his inner circle, and the crypto world is nothing but grift, and so it appears that like he's trying to get in on the grift. Was that a clear explanation? Or well, there's two parts to that one, right? Was that a clear explanation? And two, do you think that's actually a reasonable theory? I think that probably a lot of people will think, no, Donald Trump is just trying to scam everybody with cryptocurrency. But I'm not sure that one completely makes sense, because if that's really what he was trying to do, then why did they say, oh, we're not actually going to buy any Bitcoin? Like the way that they've done if they're really like trying to pump the crypto sphere and all that, they're either really incompetent at it or they're thinking really small. If you're launching anything crypto, you're scamming everyone, to be honest. Well, there is a way to launch your own meme coin that is not a scam, right? The thing that's really kind of frustrating about the crypto world, I think that there was things about it that were interesting to me. Like these cryptocurrencies that were intended to be used as a currency for like saving files having file space on the web, or providing bandwidth, or doing purchasing computational power. Those were really interesting. The cryptocurrencies like Make or Die that were kind of like, oh, okay, we understand that having a deflationary currency is bad. So what if we had a currency that just allowed the market to play the part of the Federal Reserve and, manage interest rates and things like that. That stuff is super interesting. I don't think that it's ever going to go anywhere necessarily, but it's super interesting. It was like, it was like a little playground for super nerds, and all of that is gone. Now, when a new coin takes off, it's always a pump and dump, right? They are just literally meme coins. No utility to them at all. The cryptocurrency world is like not interesting to follow anymore. Donald Trump says we don't have free trade, we have stupid trade. The whole world is ripping us off. Oh yeah, so I never signed into Truth Social. I don't know. Let's see here. Hopefully I have it saved here. I don't. I keep getting into this thing where it's like, I guess I need to have like Donald Trump's Twitter like pulled up. I don't know if Truth Social is very good at that. And then every time I get into it, I'm kind of like, who cares? Crypto's a saturated market, so every new coin is exponential. I hope you're right. I hope you're right about that. I'm so sick of it. And yeah, every time that I see the administration mention something about cryptocurrencies, I'm just cringing inside. So I'm sitting here like, if you really tie your wagon to that, I wonder. So here's a thought. Do you think that the decline in Bitcoin over this whole thing maybe kind of caused the administration to rethink things? Like to go, oh, you know what? If we completely hitch our wagon to this and it completely falls apart, that's going to make us look so bad if we like brought down the US economy because of cryptocurrencies. I hope that somebody at the administration said that, because that's what I'm constantly thinking. Russia just rejected the U.S.-backed 30-day ceasefire plan in Ukraine, calling it a tactic to help Kiev regroup. Okay. Well, that goes along with the headline that I heard earlier that they said, oh, this ceasefire is not going to work. We're going to need to rework it to better match Russia's interests. Yeah, Trump trashed NAFTA and negotiated the current trade agreement in his first term, and now he says it's a terrible agreement. It's true. That's true. He did negotiate NAFTA. So, it's interesting though. Like NAFTA was not the new. It wasn't called NAFTA, right? Well, I forget what they called it, but the UMCA or something like that, right? But there's tariff stuff built into that. So the tariff on milk, for instance, right? Canada charges a 250% tariff on milk or something like that, right? But built into the agreement is, the U.S. can import a certain amount. So there's a certain amount that they can bring in that is not subject to the tariff, and then it's everything after that, for instance. But isn't that just why one of the big reasons why a lot of people think that Donald Trump is only pursuing this because he wants a recession, or at least he wants lower interest rates? I don't know if that one really makes sense. If you really wanted lower interest rates, there's probably better ways to do it. There's probably better ways to get a recession than tariff wars. Because tariffs do increase the cost of certain goods. And the market has kind of priced interest rates a little bit higher and been more aggressive because of fears of inflation from tariffs, right? So if that was really his plan, to some extent it has worked against him, unless he really full on gets a full recession. But then the issue is if you get a full recession, you only have a 3-vote margin in the House and Congress. Do you really have... Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so fucking stupid. The reason the treasuries are selling is because of the expected government sell-off, probably. I was sitting here it should be a sleepy day. I totally forgot that Schumer blew everything up yesterday, and then we will have a shutdown now, basically, at this point. And that the Senate is already gone, so it will happen on Friday. Does that cause a sell in treasuries? I don't know. No, I think that Donald Trump wants to remake the economy, and tariffs is part of his plan to do that. And he understands that could cause short-term pain, and he's willing to accept that short-term pain. But his goal is not to create a recession so that he can get low interest rates. He should be able to get low interest rates if things just continue the way that they are. Here we go from r/technology. Tesla's decline in value could be unprecedented in the automotive industry. Yeah, right, because having a stock that's worth as much as the entire rest of the U.S. auto industry combined is not unprecedented in the first place. Oh, man. The way that the public reacts to headlines is just so funny to me sometimes. Massively overvalued stock corrects. Oh no, is something wrong with Tesla? Okay. Well, you know what it is. And this is kind of the thing that bothers me overall, because Donald Trump believes this too. They believe that all that matters is making money, because they believe that the market is informationally efficient. If you're making money, It's because you provided value to the economy in some way. And they don't understand this thing that the market's not informationally efficient, and that things make a lot of money and become valuable stocks off of complete nonsense and aren't providing any value to the economy whatsoever. So because he doesn't understand that, he just leans into every little, every entrepreneur, CEO, whatever, that's made a ton of, that's independently wealthy, that's made money. He's like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll do what you want with whatever, because you've made money. That means that you know what you're doing. And it's the same with cryptocurrency. It's like, well, if cryptocurrency is making money, then it must be a good thing. Where did you get the news? I mean, it's been going around. On Twitter. I haven't seen on my news squawks anything new about that. But like when we came in, they basically said we basically got the headline that Russia's not going to sign the ceasefire. So, I didn't get to go into that one because the whole deal was that Ukraine had taken kind of a gambit and invaded Kursk and had been holding Kursk for quite some time. And lately, things started to look really bad in Kursk, and the Russians finally overwhelmed them, and the Ukrainians are in full retreat. And Ukraine is claiming that the reason that they weren't able to hold that area was because Donald Trump and the United States stopped sharing intelligence. So they're saying it's the US's fault that they lost Kursk. And I'm just kind of sitting here like, isn't it kind of crazy to have expected to keep that forever? Like, I don't know, man. But then we get this headline that like they're pushing for a ceasefire, and Russia says, we don't need a ceasefire. So now I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, like if the US had not withdrawn their intelligence, would Ukraine still be holding Kursk? Question number one. If they were still holding Kursk, would Russia be more willing to negotiate a ceasefire? So maybe we shot ourselves in the foot there, huh? But that's all speculation. We'll see what they say in a year. Well, I do see like a slight buy-side bias in the treasuries here, but it's super, super tiny, and by and large, this thing is not moving much. It's super quiet, tight day, as we expected so far. Okay, so let's talk about the government shutdown, huh? Let's see here. What's this guy on Trans Odious on Twitter? Schumer is doing this because normally the media decides who is going to win these shutdown fights. But as Mark Halprin pointed out in last night's two-way, it's not going to work this time. Let's see. So I'm listening to Mark Halperin, and he's arguing that Democrats are assuming that the media will side with them in any shutdown battle. But that what he's noticed is that the media has kind of backed off of its reflexive side with Democrats on everything kind of play. I don't know. I kind of think, though, my own thinking on it is I'm not sure if who people blame at the beginning for the shutdown is really the big thing. I think like the bigger thing is like, what's your end game, right? Like when we had these shutdown fights before, there was like some very specific asks that the Republicans were looking for. That was like, this is why we're holding out. This is what we're negotiating. Like we're holding this hostage, essentially. Which was a strategy that didn't really work out, but many would argue that it was only because of the media. What's the end game with the Democrats here for a shutdown? Where does this end? The party activists on Reddit are basically like, we should just keep the government shut down forever because that will be like a check against Trump or something like that. I don't think it's going to work that way. What happened to all these people that were saying that like the government shutting down is unacceptable in any case? Maybe the market, it's not a huge reaction to it in the markets. Maybe the markets think that ultimately they will work something out. I don't know. We're stuck at 16 because their heavy options put open interest and max pain is 11 events that expire tomorrow. Wait, why would they expire tomorrow? The third Friday is next week. If we're gonna be pinned like this until next week, count me out. Just the weeklies. Okay. Hmm. If Donald Trump starts pulling out troops from Europe, European banks will collapse. Capital flight controls might be established. So if you have... okay, that seems a little alarmist. Because one, I think that Donald Trump talks about doing that, but I don't think that that's actually going to happen. And if that did actually happen, why would all of the capital leave Europe? I'm not so sure that it would just be like an immediately like, oh, abandon Europe. Watch, the CME will come with the 0 day to expiration. Well, they're already experimenting with other products, you know? And the unfortunate truth is that they don't offer products because that's what the market needs and will result in a more orderly and efficient market. They're looking for any opportunity that they can to increase the amount of volume that they make and therefore the amount of commissions that they make. If Trump is, you know what, I'm not going to get into details on like what is in the continuing resolution. They passed a continuing resolution in the House and then went on vacation. I think that they expected that Democrats wouldn't have the cojones to shut the government down over it. Schumer has decided that they're going to do that. Now, I guess people can argue over what's in the continuing resolution, but I kind of feel like that's, you know, you just get stuck in the weeds. It's weird. I felt like there was something I was about to look at here, and then. Why do you have the ladders on the bottom? Because that's where I take the actual trades, man. Well, so it's not about how many Senate votes are needed to pass it. It's how many Senate votes are needed to invoke cloture, which is 60, right? The Democrats can filibuster it. So unless you're able to get 10 Democrats essentially to cross over, or not 10 Democrats, is it 10? Yeah, it is 10 because it's going to be 50-50. So then you'd need 10. Well, yeah. You'd need 5. Sorry. You need 5 Democrats to cross over. There's no way to actually get the actual vote on it. So I've seen a lot of different kind of, like, one of the things, part of why I don't really want to get into the minutia of like what's in the bill is because I've seen so many different contradictory statements on what's in it and why it's unacceptable and all of these sorts of things. I think that the reality is here that's not why Democrats are opposed to it. Democrats just think that a government shutdown is a battle that they can win. Is what I really think it comes down to. So on that note, like, how do you get to the point where you do have closure? Probably just wait for public sentiment to turn against the Democrats even further, and to the point where they're like, this is really, really hurting us. We should just stop doing this. I mean, that's the way that it ended in the past. So, but on the Republican side, I really want to be able to take like yield curve trades down in these micros, like swings. But it just doesn't seem practical when you have a spread that big, you know? Filibuster may be the biggest obstruction to a functioning government. Well, I mean, the whole thing is that a government shutdown is a big dramatic thing. There are many negatives about it, but we often make it out to be like it's the end of the world, and it's really not. Like, life goes on, and at this point, I kind of think that the public, like really, I wasn't seeing anything about it until all of the sudden Schumer was like, "No, we're not going to pass it," and you know. Other than that, people weren't really thinking about it. So, will it be as big of a news story as it has been in the past? I'm not sure. We'll just see, I guess. But so far, the media into the run up to it was lower than usual. It was kind of a surprise to me. So, is it really like making a functioning government? No, the government still functions without it. Obviously, it's not 100%, but the government still functions. I'm gonna get one of those. So this might be an interesting setup here in the treasuries, if they do decide to go for the lows, because it's been so range bound. So, you know, that might be a kind of a trick that gets faded. I find playing that game never works out, but we would just kind of see. It'll kind of give us an idea of what kind of day it is. Kind of day it really is. The biggest obstruction to getting policy passed is the filibuster. Well, maybe it's a good thing that we're not passing policy, though. Honestly, if it only took a 1-vote majority to pass legislation in America, it would probably be a real shit show by this point. Like, I'm really concerned about the way that legislation and things like that go if the filibuster goes away. Because it would result in, how do I put it? Like, it would kind of result in more policy uncertainty, because basically every time that the balance of power shifts in Congress, they would completely rewrite all of the rules. Right? Like if all it took was a 1-vote majority, first thing Democrats would do would push universal health care, right? Probably. And then as soon as Republicans take power by 1 vote, they'd get rid of it. That's how it should be, let the people's. That's never been how it's been, though. The part of why America has been so successful, and why we've been successful in places where Europe hasn't, is because of the 2-party system and the filibuster. That it's really hard to get a new policy through. You really do have to have some buy-in from the other party to get anything major done. It's only been since 2005 or so that we've gotten into this, like, Congress just never passes any laws. Okay. Yeah, they could have done that in '09, but just gave us Obamacare. No, because the Republicans, there was still a filibuster, right? So Democrats did not have a large enough majority in the Senate to overcome a filibuster. And there was still some Democrats that were, they weren't going to vote for universal health care. So, but if you didn't have a filibuster, then maybe they would have done it as universal health. Maybe Obamacare would have been universal health care. There's a few contracts into 14. I don't think that liquidity there is just going to pull away. So let's see if they can get through it. If it's a good policy, it should go through. If it's a good policy, it should be able to get more than 51 votes. Right? Like this is the exact opposite of what you're saying, right? That what the filibuster does is it sets the bar for how good a bill has to be for it to pass to be that much higher. You can't just get something that is kind of like, it's an idea we want to experiment with, or a small majority of people, again 51 votes and we can push it through. No, you really have to have broad consensus and negotiation and compromise in order for things to get through. And that's been the strength of the American system. But the party votes against good policy for political reasons. Well, one, I have not seen a good policy proposed in Washington, D.C. for 30 years. So let's just smack that one down for starters. But number two, the voting against things purely for political reasons is a recent phenomenon. We should understand that. It is a recent phenomenon that is probably driven primarily by social media. If you get rid of the filibuster, what you're really doing is you're just providing even more opportunity for the dysfunction of social media to infect our politics. Okay, so they did get through 13.5 after 8,000 contracts. So already kind of seeing this thing, like I think that if we expect it to be a range bound day and we see a break like that, the play should be to fade it. But already the volume that I saw there makes me think that that's not what's happening. So I don't think that fading that one makes much sense. But I don't think that going with it makes much sense either. Probably I would rather be like Octavius and be short at 16 and looking for a high volume area to create a liquidity hole and get out there. So you're saying we have a stupid electorate and they can't vote intelligently for their best interests to be represented? Now you're doing the straw man thing again. I didn't say that it was because the electorate is stupid. I'm saying that a 1-vote majority is not enough to say that it's a good policy. If it's a good policy, you should be able to get more votes than that. If it's a good policy, everybody in Congress should be terrified about voting against it. That doesn't happen because nobody in Congress proposes good policy anymore. Wow, now 17,000 at 13.5. I'm not seeing the signs in the market depth that we're getting a liquidity hole there, but that sure is a decent amount of volume that traded there. That could certainly cause it to happen. Oh, this story is worse. The Trump family has been in talks for a stake in crypto exchange Binance per the Wall Street Journal. At the same time, Binance founder Cheng Zhao has been reportedly pushing Trump for a pardon. Oh man, the whole pardon thing, that's good. Like all of the people in the crypto sphere pushing to try and get themselves a pardon, that's another thing that just absolutely, right? Like especially Sam Bankman-Fried. Like if they gave a pardon to Sam, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It can be a great policy. What great policy? What is this theoretical great policy that has happened that people voted against? It doesn't happen. Everything that Congress proposes is shit. They propose stupid things that don't really do a whole lot other than provide them opportunities to argue with each other and try and get the American public on their side so that they can win the next election. But they don't actually do anything that would actually improve people's lives. They don't care about that. Still watching it here. I mean, what is your idea of a great policy? Universal healthcare? Because I think that's a terrible policy. And that's the sort of stuff that would get passed if you didn't have a filibuster. Okay, uptick at 14. If that's not, but well, number one, that's not what people want. But you didn't say it was what people wanted. You said it was a good policy. Now you're just contradicting yourself. You realize that the entire reason that we are a constitutional republic is because the founders understood that there's big problems with just always doing what a small majority of the public wants. Like, oh, there you go. See, Julian's picking up on exactly. The U.S. isn't a democracy. It's not supposed to be anyways. If people want stupid things, the founding fathers knew that. That's why you're exactly. I think this sort of thing is really funny. And again, it comes I have a really hard time talking to this guy without insulting him, which kind of bothers me, but like it's low IQ comments like that. It's like, you don't understand anything about the history of the United States and why the government is organized the way that it is and all of these things. Yeah, and these people, they just make this argument that is basically whatever it is. They always take the side that will be what will give me what I want. I want universal health care, ergo the government should work this way because it's probably the only way that I would get it passed. Instead of going, well, maybe there's a good reasons why it's set up the reason that it is, so that kind of stupid stuff can't get through. Like, if we get above 16, dude, that'll be interesting if we get back to 16. Is on the way, isn't it? Oh. Well, there is 16. I shouldn't have said 16. I think if we got above 17. If we got above 17, that would be really interesting to me. That would be the complete, like, full retrace, right? So on that one, because I did say I think the correct way to play this is to fade it, right? The issue with that one is, where would you do it at? So I think this is the 4th or 5th time where I've pointed out this particular kind of setup that you get in a technical dominated market. But when I've tried trading them, they don't work out. So maybe the problem is more the positioning. We'll have to watch that next time. So next time this happens, we'll try really hard to try and figure out where the correct place to get in for the reversal should be. I suppose that I could have done it like when it started ticking up at 14.5, but then that's only 2 ticks. I guess that's the other issue. Maybe the real reason I've had so much problems with this is because the reward in it really is super tiny. What do you expect from a guy that I start plenty of sentences with so, though? That's actually when I'm writing stuff, I have a real problem with. I always want to have a transitioning word at the beginning of the sentence to somehow tie it into the past sentence. And so I always want to say so, however, but, right? So if we didn't have a filibuster, all it takes is 51 votes in the Senate to pass universal health care. And you say, okay, that's fine if that's what the people want. So then that should be fine when Republicans take power and they end that policy, right? It works both ways, man. How about instead of just saying, what is going to give me what I want in the short term, we actually think about like a coherent system that actually deals with the problems that we have in society and government. Because that's how we got America. So they went back and they said, well, here's how government has worked in the past, and here's kind of the problems with it. And so we're going to solve those problems. And they did, and it was effective. Okay, so there's the cost basis is at 17. Okay. So they stepped over that quite aggressively. Did you see? They took out everything that was offered. The bid firmed up immediately. Some orders were going into 17.5. That does not look like a bounce to me. Let's see. Could give it some time. There's an iceberg at 17.5. The other side of the neutral zone would be 21. Do you think that we're really going to get an impulse that takes us all the way up to 21? Because at that point, I kind of have to be like, oh, what's going on in this market? Well, at the same time, for the first 30 minutes or so of the S&P 500, they've started selling off again. So it does look to me like that it's correlation with that. And interestingly enough, I do see significant absorption against this flow as well. It was 5,000 contracts at 17.5. Like, they are absorbing it. And there's big orders at 18. That'll have to be a really strong flow for it to continue through there. If the concept of a republic is so grand, why is the GOP pushing for federal abortion bans? Okay, the GOP is not pushing for federal abortion bans. Some individual members of the GOP may be proposing abortion ban laws, etc. And they do that because that's how they get reelected. Is their constituents really would like to see abortion banned, and that's kind of like the red meat that they throw out to their constituents, even though they know that there is zero chance of that ever passing. If Republicans were in power, well, they are right now, okay? If there was no filibuster, there'd be nothing stopping the GOP from passing a federal abortion ban right now. I don't think that they would. I don't think that you have enough support in the GOP itself to get one. But I'm just saying it's a possibility. If it was like the GOP's platform, then they have enough votes then. Do you think that it would be okay to pass a federal abortion ban with only 51 votes in the Senate? I don't. Even if I think it's a good policy, I think that something like that that's so controversial and doesn't have the buy-in from the other party, and the other party like adamantly opposes, that's just going to be toxic to the overall fabric of America. Yeah, GOP are running on back to the states for so long that a federal abortion ban would be. But at the same time, if we didn't have the filibuster, man, so if the United States never had the filibuster to begin with, oh man, I can't even begin to fathom how different this country would be. Because now you're talking about things that, from the very early days of the Republic, big things that ended up being a really significant part of how our system works and everything that wouldn't have happened if all it took was a simple majority. And then especially around the Civil War, like, remember all these stuffs about like the compromise of, what is it, 1867? And who was that one guy, William Henry, that was known as the Great Compromiser? All because of the filibuster. So, like, how far back do we want to go to decide when we got rid of the filibuster? Let's say that after George Bush was elected, that they got rid of the filibuster. I think that back then the chances of Republicans passing a federal abortion ban would be pretty high at that point. Like during the period when Republicans really had everything in the government after 2001, and they passed things like the Patriot Act, for instance, they absolutely could have done a federal abortion ban. And back then, it wouldn't have been political suicide. And then you could go back and forth every 4 years, right? Depending on who's president. Passing it and unpassing it. Your read me argument acknowledged that the electorate is... No, that doesn't mean that the electorate is ignorant. But it does mean that we shouldn't always do what a small majority of the population wants. That again is trying to construct a straw man. I'll tell you what, Octavius, I don't think that you would ever catch me trading both sides of that. That was pretty crazy. Some interesting behavior in the dollar today. I haven't been paying attention. I mean, that's a fairly large range for the dollar, and the dollar just seems like it's collapsing at the moment. Would we catch you trading at all? Not live trades right now, no. And not on a day that I expect. I mean, if I say that I think it's a range day, I'm basically saying I don't expect to take any trades today, right? So... Like, that's the whole thing. Don't you think that lately I've been calling out that kind of play really well? Like, I've been watching it. I think that it's worked out 4 or 5 times now in a row. But, you know, historically, when I tried those kinds of plays, they were disasters. No, not every day is a range day for me. Not every day. There's certainly something. I think that what happens more often than not is, you know, I do have expectations about flows and everything, and I wait for too much confirmation before I try and get on. And so, like, the opportunity's already gone by the time I realize I should have taken a trade. I think that that's probably the most common thing that happens. It would be like categorized as a mistake. But you know, like by and large, I don't want to take trades. I don't want to take trades. The whole, you know, thinking back about times where I did take lots of trades and I was super engaged in what was happening all the time. And those periods were traumatic. Don't like those feelings, right? No, I only want to trade if I'm really, really confident that I have an edge. Oh, I don't know if that was ever true. Every GOP primary candidate minus Christie was on the stage pushing for a national ban. I don't think that that's true. I can't remember a time ever where everybody in the GOP, like all presidential candidates, were pushing for a national ban. But at the same time, it has really only been like since 2012, I would say, that Republicans were really specific about policies anyways. Like, it was just always just abortion was bad, and it wasn't well, should it be a national ban or should it go back to the states? Or, you know, most people didn't talk about that stuff. Talk is cheap. Doing it would lose them everything. It's hard for a lot of progressives to grasp this because you guys believe everything your politicians say. I kind of feel like what Uzi said there is going a little bit far, because that's like really generalizing people, and you know, how can we really prove that that's the case and everything? But it 100% resonates with me. Everything that I see in social media is like, man, the Democrats are so skeptical and give you a hard time about everything that Republicans do, and then they just eat up all of the bullshit that Democrats feed them, hook, line, and sinker every time. And it's only been the whole reason that the Democrat Party is in this situation is because they got so used to their electorate being so gullible that they finally took it so far that they couldn't, the voters couldn't overlook it anymore. Everybody's going here like, wow, you guys really totally lied to us on a huge thing. Can't trust you anymore. That's why the Democrat Party's numbers are in the pits. I saw this poll yesterday. I could go and read it, but I don't think we want to spend time reading it. But I saw a poll yesterday that showed that like approval on Donald Trump handling the economy had gone up after all of this. Can you believe that? Like, how bad are Democrats doing that? That's just wild to me, man. Progressives and Democrats in general cannot fathom not trusting their politicians. They just can't do it. No, I don't know if that's true though. Like, okay, so here's the thing that's always weirded me out. Okay. Is like, okay, so good example. I watched Venom: The Last Dance yesterday on Netflix. What was it on Netflix? I can't remember what. No, I think it was on Netflix. Yeah, it's on Netflix. I watched it, the third one. I don't know. The Venom movies aren't that good, but I enjoy parts of them. And in the third movie, there's this new character that ends up playing a larger role in the show than I would normally expect, where basically it's like this hippie dad with his hippie family, and they're in a van, and they are driving to Area 51. And like in the car, they've got like all of the super hippie stuff and all of these sorts of things, right? In my headcanon growing up, it was always the Democrats that were the way out there conspiracy theorists, you know, sort of thing. I think that a large part of it was because I was constantly seeing people on the internet arguing about if the September 11th was a false flag, right? Saw lots of people arguing about that. They were Democrats. It was the Democrats were the conspiracy theorist types, you know? So I've always felt like it was a contradiction. Like that by and large, liberals didn't trust government, that liberals feel that politicians lie to you, etc., etc., etc. But it was just that they only ever saw it on Republicans and didn't see it when it was Democrats doing it to you. And I guess I still feel that way, that for some reason Democrats don't see when they're being manipulated like Republicans do. That's the thing, is Republicans hate their own politicians. They hate their own politicians. They hate their own news sources. I always laugh when I'm on Reddit and people are, there's like some contradiction or conundrum or behavior about Republicans that they don't understand, and they can't explain it. And they're like, why is it like this? Oh, it's because of Fox News. Dude, like the hardcore Republicans don't watch Fox News. They hate Fox News. The Trumpers, especially the hardcore Trumpers, think that Fox News is controlled opposition. They hated how they pushed against Donald Trump. Like, yeah, they don't. The Republicans hate their own politicians. They hate their own news media, etc. And so they're extremely skeptical about everything that their own politicians do. And I just don't see that among Democrats, even though the culture that I saw, or at least that they had when I grew up with, would suggest that they would be super skeptical about everything that the government does, right? They were the ones that were like, we need to be concerned about our freedoms being taken away. They were the ones that were most concerned about, like, freedom of speech, for instance, or being able to go out and protest, or all of these sorts of things, right? And then all of a sudden, it was like Obama got elected, and they just dropped all of that and just went along with everything that the Democrats said. Yeah, it used to be different, and that's where I think Trump screwed the dynamic. Trump was like a global unifying force that just threw the left into essentially the average North Korean politically. Democrats don't question their people. They believe and accept everything. Conversely, I've seen Trumpers boo Trump at his rally. Yeah. There's another thing Democrats struggle with. Trump just shifts too much to keep up with the whims of his own base. Yeah. Democrats just swallow whatever is crammed down their throats, which is why they're perpetually disappointed. Dude, I think that everybody that looks at politics is perpetually disappointed, but it's definitely more acute on the Democrat side, don't you think? Yeah, now you're talking about InfoWar conspiracy theories. Well, like that's the thing. When I was a kid, if you told me, okay, so like if you had asked me in 2001, when did Alex Jones really become a thing? 2001 is probably too early, right? Early life. Waco siege, Oklahoma bombing. Okay, if you had asked me in 1995, is Alex Jones right wing or left wing, I would have probably have gotten it wrong, and I would have thought that Alex Jones was a left winger. Like, in my mind, it was always the left that were the conspiracy theory guys. But see, now I realize that what it actually is, conspiracy theories are a reaction to feeling powerless. So when a group of people feel powerless, they will turn to conspiracy theories every time. That's really what goes on. And so the reason that I thought that Democrats were the conspiracy theory types was because they were the ones out of power during most of my high school years, because it was George Bush, right? But you're dropping conspiracy theories. We're talking about believing the lies that politicians inherently sell. But aren't the conspiracy theory types the ones that are more likely to disbelieve whatever the media narrative is at that time? By the way, treasuries did not make it back across the gap. They came back to 16. Which is what we should expect in a range-bound day. I don't know. How big was that impulse that brought us back up? Negative 15 to 7. Yeah, it was only 7K. Well, there was a lot of volume on it, though. I think that it did that because there was like somebody else straight up selling it. I think that we actually maybe got a little bit of a clash there. What is I disproved my own argument with the poll approving of Trump's economy. Well, my point was that if polling is showing that support of the economy, the support of Donald Trump's handling of the economy is increasing, the only way that I think I could possibly explain that is because approval of Democrats is so low. Because I think even those of us on the right are, you know, and even those of us that, when I say those of us, do I really believe this? I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit mixed about tariffs, but those in the, even amongst those in the Republican Party that want tariffs really badly, I think that there is still a great deal of anxiety about, will it actually work? Is it really actually a good idea? I think that everybody that's involved in this understands that it's kind of a high risk play. You know what I mean? And so if tariffs were beneficial, I would say, okay, cool. Like it was a big gamble and it worked out, and I'd be super happy about it, right? Because I really don't think that I can say conclusively, like, tariffs right now are a good thing or a bad thing. There are maybe certain tariff policies or like maybe certain plays in the way that you're negotiating where I could sit and say, in that particular instance, yeah, that's probably not a good way to go about it. But the larger strategy that Donald Trump wants to do here, which is he doesn't feel that trade is fair. He is going to use tariffs to try and negotiate a fair trade, and he's going to use tariffs to try and bring more business back home to the United States. I can say that in general, historically, tariffs have been bad economically, but you can't say in this particular instance, in this situation, that tariffs are going to turn out badly, because the market is a dynamic system with a lot of moving parts. And so you can have situations where a policy that is like maybe generally bad ends up working really well and ends up being a real positive in that situation, right? So I can only say that tariffs are a risk. And I don't think that I can really conclusively take a position for or against them. Uzi says, I think we're just seeing the negotiating process out in the open. Usually this stuff happens behind closed doors with U.S. capitulation. Yeah. Well, it is usually the U.S. capitulates. That's true. I think if I go back, so like going into the mind reading stuff, like what is Trump actually thinking? Because some of what he's said and done about tariffs lately seem kind of almost contradictory at times, confusing. I'm constantly being surprised by like what's happening and what he says and stuff like that, right? And my theory is he's ADHD. My theory is he's ADHD. He has like a larger strategy and all of those sorts of things, but he lacks the discipline to stick with it 100% of the time. And he'll be sitting there sometimes and thinking, you know, oh, I want to tweet about this. Oh, it's totally okay. It's been better this time around because it seems like he has a much better team around him to control some of those worst impulses. But with the tariff war, it really seems like that we're seeing some of that. And I think if I was president and I was unmedicated, that I would probably make the same mistakes, if not worse. I don't know if I would go for tariffs, but I do feel that the United States needs to rebuild its manufacturing base. I think that that's an important thing for our long-term national security. I don't know how you accomplish that effectively, but I do think that the broader goal is a good thing. If you were to imagine all these dopey turns in a conference room discussing trade, you'd know it's an absolute slop fest. Yeah, I've never seen that, so maybe you're right. Doing in the open adds new variable, the electorate is watching, that creates pressure. I don't know. With Trump's recent comments about there's going to be some pain, do you think he just realized this, or was he aware prior to implementing? Oh, he was definitely aware prior to implementing them, because he made similar comments that kind of went under the radar while he was running for office. And Elon Musk said similar comments while they were running for office. I think that they understood. Now, when they made those comments, I think that they were kind of more thinking about cutting government, but they very much understood that the current economy very much is dependent on these things, and that if you come in and you disrupt that there's going to be short-term pain, that that there's going to be creative destruction. Absolutely, they understood that. Did Donald Trump think that we were going to have this decline right now? I don't know. Sometimes I think that it's like he's a little surprised by how it's going, but then sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't think he's even watching the markets, which is probably the right thing for him to do. But So going back to the it's a high risk play thing, but I guess part of why I feel the way that I do is because I watched the first trade war, right? And I saw how that went, and it wasn't so clear cut. like yeah, there was market volatility in the short term. They didn't finish it, but then they didn't take the tariffs off either. And the damage that was done wasn't too bad. Like, no, everybody forgets about that whole episode. COVID came along and everybody, man, if COVID hadn't happened, then probably what people would remember Donald Trump for was the whole trade war thing. And then probably, if COVID hadn't happened, Donald Trump probably would have been elected to a second term. And then he would have continued the thing with China. It's really funny how short of a memory the public. You know what I've kind of noticed though? It seems to me that the most active people on the internet are children. That the most active people on the internet are between the ages of 14 and 26. And once you get outside of that age range, those people are significantly less likely to actively comment and participate in online disclosure. I think that you get millennial influencers at a level that is probably proportional to their percentage of the population, but millennial influencers get less comments overall, it seems. It's like because their audience, the people that are their age, don't have the time to be on the internet all the time and be commenting. So that is why the internet seems to have a short memory. because the people that are commenting right now were freaking in elementary school when all that stuff was happening. He spent 2 years on the campaign trail talking to a dumb electorate. Well, no, he's talking to voters overall. That whole thing, I think, is, again, that's the, like, why does everybody all of a sudden get it autistic when it comes to Donald Trump? When he says, "Oh, prices are going to come down on day one," that doesn't really mean that he believes that prices will actually decline, right? He's chat GPTing it. He's saying inflation's going to come down. He understands that you don't get deflation, that deflation is bad. Well, it does seem like that overall inflation is continuing to come down. Maybe in part because it does seem like that the tariffs are actually kind of maybe having a deflationary impact right now, you know? Yeah, you're talking to someone who believes everything any politician says. He genuinely expected prices to come down on day one. And when that obviously doesn't happen, he thinks everyone else believed it like he did. No, but I think that he correctly, when Donald Trump said that, he correctly understood that wasn't going to happen. Right? No, what happened was Donald Trump said that, and all of the Democrats were like, well, we know that's not going to happen, so we're going to hold his feet to the fire when that doesn't happen. And then when that doesn't happen, and they crow about it, nobody cares because everybody understood that that's not really what he was saying. You know, like, yeah. So in this case, it's not that they believe everything that any politician says. It's that they believe that Republicans believe everything that their Republican politicians say because they believe everything that their Democrat politicians say. And it doesn't work like that. On top of that, that wasn't just Donald Trump making a dumb promise, expecting, like, in Donald Trump's mind, he's not thinking, oh, I'm going to say this because I know that everybody will love it and eat it up, even though I know that that's not the way that it's going to happen. That's not what he's thinking. When he says that, what he's thinking is most people don't understand, like, what inflation is actually defined as. They only know that they're paying more at the cash register. So if I'm going to tell them that one of the issues that I really want to tackle is inflation, the best way for me to say that to get the most people's attention is to say that I'm going to make prices come down on day one. Even though that's not really even though he knows that that's not really going on. And he's not saying it like that, like he's trying to deceive people. In his mind, it's actually, it's more honest because he is putting himself in their minds and saying, what is the way that I can say this that will, get them to understand the most what they should vote for what they want, you know? I tell you what, man, that move that we had down and back up was awfully exciting. But I'm looking back on it and I'm like, you know what? Like, on any other day, that would have been like trivial noise. Would have been trivial noise. It is just an incredibly tight day today. It is a really slow day today. I'm glad that I didn't trade that. Like, on normal circumstances, I shouldn't trade that, even if that would have worked. Because, like, even if you have a good signal, a good signal on a range-bound day is less likely to work effectively. Like I've found that if it's a trend day, there are some setups you can kind of take that, you know, once you've taken into effect the expected flows and the context and everything, are extremely high probability trades. But I do not, you know, ones where like you could maybe win 70-80% of the time. But I'm not sure that those exist for the range-bound ones. I think that the range-bound ones, if you have a setup that you can take in a range-bound day, that it's maybe like 55%, you know? You live in a glass house? No, I did not. But here's the freaking straw man again. You know what? I tell you what, man. You just don't ever like if. I don't think he's a kid. He's probably older than a kid. But if you are a kid, don't join the debate team. You're really bad at it. Because you already tried to use that straw, or you know, said something like that, and I explained it. And then you went back and tried to put the straw man back up, right? You constructed the straw man. I took it down. You're trying to put it back up now. So, what was Uzi said something that kind of reminded me of a story. There was this man, and he was super, super rich. And one day, he was at the airport going to the bathroom, and he was a terrible bathroom. He really missed his bathroom back home. And, you know, so when he went back home, he was like, you know, I'm going to just make this the best experience possible, you know, because I'm rich and I can do that. And, you know, he kept finding different toilet seats and things like that. And so, you know, he decided to just start collecting them. And he was really proud of this too. Like, he wasn't quiet about it. He wanted everybody to see his toilet collection. So he built a giant glass building that he could display all of his toilets in. And one day, the house got so big, he put so many toilets in that house that the entire structure just completely collapsed. And the moral of the story is to don't stow thrones in glass houses. Trust the dipshits on the 20% side of every. I mean, wasn't there the case for a long time on the Republican side that the Republican Party generally supported a certain policy that like only 20% of people actually supported? But I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's a 20% issue. Like, Republicans are definitely in the minority on the abortion issue, but they've kind of negotiated that like it should be up to the states. Okay, sure. What would be a different issue? There's a lot of issues where it seems like Republicans are on the 20% side, but that's actually like an issue with like how they ask questions. Like, if you ask people, should the rich pay more, or like, should we have basic universal income? And most people are like, oh yeah, totally, I would love to make more money. But then they're like, okay, like here are the consequences of it, and we would have to pay for it and all that. And then they're like, oh no, I don't approve of that one, right? But on the Democrat side, there are multiple issues right now, mostly around DEI and transgender issues and things like that, that it really is like only 20% of the American populace agrees on. And they dig in on it so hard, and it makes no sense. That reminds me of how the Illinois Governor Pritzker, worth more than Trump, removed all the toilets from his mansion a couple of years ago. He dodged a $250K property tax because of the toilets. That's the Democrat way. Wow. Is there a way to clean up? Yeah. Someone who's mentioning there's some spam in Discord, and we want to get rid of those. Oh, that's probably good for now. I think it's low-key jealousy. We elected this big bullish dummy who's trying to do everything people voted for him to do, and they never get that stuff. You know what? Oh, hold on. Okay. Negotiations going over on in the Senate. So I think that a lot of the problems that we see around those sorts of issues are pride. I think that when you're a person like me that is constantly sitting there on the stage in front of the audience saying what you think about the world, and particularly trying to predict what's going to happen in the world and predict what's especially short-term sorts of things, you're going to be wrong a lot. And unless you're a delusional narcissist, at some point you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that even if you're really good at it, and I think that I am really good at it, I think that I've generally made really good predictions about the economy and culture, but not perfect. And so I can look at it and I can say, well, maybe I'm right most of the time, but like our predictive powers are limited, right? And so overall, when you're thinking about yourself as a person, you really have to separate yourself from it. It's like, what I believe right now is just what I believe right now, and things are going to change, and then my opinion of it is going to change, and sometimes I'm going to be right, and sometimes I'm going to be wrong, and that really doesn't say a whole lot about like who I am as a person. That's really not like you. It's the same thing with trading. When you've been in trading long enough, you will realize that basing your entire personality and like value in the world on that you are or are not a successful trader is like a really dumb thing to do, because number one, when you fail, like you're just going to completely collapse, and when you do that, it negatively affects your performance. So you have to disconnect yourself from it. It's something that I do. I'm not outcome dependent on it. I've gotten pretty good at it, but the most important thing to me is like, do we understand the market? Are we like accomplishing our actual goals of building a community and working together to get better at this? Those are the sorts of things that matter. And us having done well in the recent past is just kind of an extra little bonus, right? But most people can't do that. Most people don't do that. Most people are, when they're in high school, they have some certain view of the world, and it's often a very progressive view of the world. And then, all of the adults, they tell them, no, that's stupid. Okay. Like the big one is that when somebody has gender dysphoria, that you should transition them because it will reduce their chances of committing suicide. And if you don't let them transition, then you're basically killing them. And at the time that happened, when that was the big argument, we were all saying, no, that's not what the studies say. There's some really, you're referring to some very flawed studies, and you're severely misinterpreting the results of those studies. Now, in the past month, we have gotten some studies, some meta studies that pretty much say that the people that have gender dysphoria that transition have worse mental health outcomes than those don't. And I think there's been 2 studies like that, right? So do you see all of these people, especially the kids that were in high school like 4 years ago, going and saying, oh, okay, well, it was totally wrong, right? Like they can't do it, because being right is like, they feel that admitting that they were wrong on something is like betraying who they are or something like that, right? And so you get these people, and this is what's happening in the Democrat Party, generally speaking, I think, is that you get people that will latch onto ideas because they're open-minded and they were young at the time. And then when, some of those ideas work out like that, there's a reason why that mechanism, why that happens in society is you want to have young people coming in and mixing things up and the chances of finding better ways of doing things, right? So you need to have that function. But then when it doesn't work out, we have to move on. And we have this percentage of the like 20% of the overall population, but it's like a really large percent of Gen Z people, apparently, that are not willing to let it go. Yeah. Uzi's on fire today. He really. I watch all kinds of your people justify sick, stupid ass shit all day, and frankly, it's kind of funny watching y'all's normie ass politicians try and mitigate the extremity of your own side. Yes, it is. Because during the whole Trump era, they have kind of premised their, especially under Joe Biden, the whole Joe Biden pitch was, we're going to have a return to normalcy. Like, this is all crazy. it's all Donald Trump's fault, etc., etc., etc. And then when you actually go through it all and everything, what we actually find is that the left is way more extreme than the right now still. Like the right wants traditional families, oh no, and meanwhile the crazy things that the left wants to support is just nuts. You got 25 points on the S&P 500. It looks like luck. Wait, what is the range for today here, by the way? I have to make this bigger. 5608. 5555. Oh, geez. So a 50-point range. I keep forgetting that at its heart, this is all about him trying to push a subscription service. Google is reportedly experimenting with forced DRM on all YouTube videos. What does that mean? Oh, it's so that you can't just download the videos, is it? The treasuries are doing something a little bit more interesting now. Seeing a lot more level 2 activity. 25 points on the E-Mini, that's cool. But, like, do it for 5 years now. Okay, so I have another question for you, Uzi. When Bullwinkle says stuff like that, does he genuinely believe that, like, that's good and good for, you know, or does he say it because he knows that there's a lot of dumb people out there that would fall for that? Because if it's the latter, like, you would think by now he would realize that nobody on the street cares about that stuff. Oh, there's one that I missed. Put a 10 lot on. Hold on, I'm deleting some messages here and stuff. Some spam that I had missed. Yeah. There was this issue where like okay, Discord changed a permission, like they kind of split certain permissions out and everything, and basically it allowed anybody to add a robot to the server. And so somebody did that added a robot that spammed, and it left so many messages that then you couldn't just like ban the user and have all of the messages deleted. And I thought that I had gotten it all, and I'm finding that there was some in other channels that I had missed. Yeah, so Uzi was messaging me about something. I'm not going to go like into detail about, but like the thing that's going through my head about it right now is like it seems to me that the stream has been really effective at creating a core group of traders that have been here for a really, really long time and really understand the market, and has really helped us kind of work together and certainly level up my trading. But it doesn't seem to be very effective at affecting larger change in the trading community. That we get lots of people that come in and just say the dumbest things, and you can argue with them all you want, but like they can't move away from it. It's just like, you know? And I often wonder like why that is. Because some of the people that we're talking about, like they are obviously just trying to promote something else, right? They're obviously trying to just promote something else. But then we've had other people that were just antagonistic for no reason, right? Like they think they know best for whatever reason. You know? What drives people to that? Why is it so hard? I don't know. So we've been working on this channel for a long time. It seems to me that the thing that I did that helped the channel the most ever was to make that video about trading computers. By the way, yesterday I had somebody, they messaged me that like they sell trading computers. They looked kind of interesting. They didn't have good video cards in them, so it's kind of like, But they wanted to do something, and I was like, well, I'll at least talk to him and see what he wants. But like, I think he's not checking his. I think that Proton Mail is going to his spam folder. You didn't see my reply. I was like, oh well, wasn't that interested anyways. Yeah, man, I've seen so many of these channels. I really thought that I went through and cleaned all of this. I think the boys are still asleep. I think my wife is still home too. She must not be leaving until later today. She must not be going until like 10 o'clock. That or the kids were all really, really quiet when they were going to school.
Order filled.
Oh, now the robot takes a trade, huh? Well, that's interesting. Yeah, he's still fast asleep. So I'm going to keep this going for a little bit, and while I'm deleting these. Man. Some of these I'm like, you know what? I definitely deleted these. It must be that maybe there were some things that I thought I deleted and didn't because I did it on my phone or something like that, you know? And it's like 3 clicks for each message too. Just really annoying. I'm kind of curious how this trade's gonna work out because, I don't know. I don't know if they can really get above that line, man. I don't know. Like, it seems interesting. It's an interesting one to me because there is an imbalance. There definitely is a buy-side imbalance that came through there, and it's finally enough to trigger it. But I'm not so sure that it's actually going to work out for it. That I also hate that the timing. I hate the timing of it. When the VIX goes back to Contago. I'm going all in on Spies and Costco. I really think that in terms of like, you know, how far is this going to go? I think that it could get much worse. So I am not a dip buyer here. But I'm not a seller overall either, right? Just I'm just not. We're not here for people to spam. Go in the immortal words of Golem. Go away and never come back. That would be a good show to have on in the background, but I don't think that the boys are really old enough to care about that one. It's not like 3D animated Pixar stuff they tune out. Is it really that funny, guys? I don't know. I really hope to God, Asim, that you're like a genuine person that just came in here and has no clue what's going on in the stream and everything, because I'm going to give you tons of shit. Because it's almost certainly just another account of Bullwinkle's. Comes in here, is like, you know, just got banned. Okay, let's make another one and hope to try and infiltrate. Like, come on. Couldn't be more obvious. Like, ugh. Tell me, wait, no. Okay. I kind of feel that the rule should just be don't tell me about positions. But I don't want to do that because I like the stuff that Octavia says, even though I know that he's mostly just playing opening range stuff, right? But we have no trust in people now because I know, right? So what I'm going to do instead is the rule is going to be If you're a white name, don't tell me about your positions. I will give you one warning and that's it. So we have somebody. Actually, I think that this is not the first time ASIM has been in here, is it? Well, we had somebody in this stream earlier that has been trolling the channel for a while and is trying to promote a worthless subscription service, like a trade copy subscription service. And we just banned him, and then ASIM came in. So we're kind of suspicious that that's just another one of his alternate accounts trying to come in. My fingers are starting to get tired. I came up on your feed? Well, that's good. Do you trade futures? What futures do you trade? Just looking to see what's up. It's usually about the time that we quit, but my robot just took a trade. It looks like it's going south. I don't like the trade. Mostly because it's a range bound day, right? Like it's a range bound play, like literally right at the spot where I would expect it to like turn back around. So I really don't like the trade. But we're testing the robot. We'll see how it works. I don't think that I can stay around long enough for you all, because it holds it for an hour. But I'm deleting some spam somewhere else, so we're gonna stick around until I'm done with that at least. I think that I did delete this spam, but like only in the main channels, and I was like, I don't have the time to do this. I have to get back to the other ones later. Because it's like this stupid robot added like 6 or so of the same message. So like when you delete it, it looks like you didn't delete it. Anyways, and then you did it in every channel, and because it wasn't a user, you couldn't just, ban the user and delete everything that they've posted in the last 7 days or something like that. So I have to click, 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 click. 3 clicks just to delete one message. And I have to do that for like 100 messages. I feel grumpy today, and I feel like just leaning hard into the grumpiness every day now. Click, click, click. Click, click. I wish that there was like key bindings or something at least. I've been at it 15 minutes. Now I'm starting to think, could I have made a script that would have searched for this messages from this user and deleted them? Oh man, I feel about so bad. Some of these should have seen. Octavia's Jigsaw. What are you talking about? Definitely okay on that one. Check your email? Oh dear. Back in January, we discovered something that turned our roadmap upside down. Hackers were specifically targeting trading platforms with Jigsaw on their hit list. Instead of pushing forward with features, we made a tough call. Your security had to come first. I'm excited to share that our hard work has paid off. Jigsaw 5004 is now available with a completely redesigned security system that goes beyond industry standards, multiple layers of encryption, several bug fixes you've been waiting for. When you install this update, you will need to re-enter your password. This is intentional. We've implemented more robust password protection. We're completing the version 5 beta by April 3rd. We've already started development on a trade copy feature. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. So that was incredibly vague, wasn't it? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, but it's still the beta version, so. How are hackers targeting Jigsaw? They're so vague about it. Okay, now he's in the money. A+ says maybe they literally. I'm going to guess that for security reasons they are going to be intentionally vague about it, right? Oh, I see they posted. Oh, that was on the 13th. Oh yeah, that is today. That's today. 8:31. So about 45 minutes ago. How come I'm not? Yeah. I'm going to stay off the beta until it. It sounds like that they were using, like here it says security patch new encryption layer added for server communications. That suggests to me that it's the communications sent between me and Jigsaw for like sim trades and things like that that was hacked and not necessarily, you know? Nope, I didn't get it. His downloads channel has it too. Oh, that really upsets me. Okay. Now I'm more certain. Kind of waiting because it is moving, you know? Like it's looking really good. Like the entry was a terrible entry, but it's moving now. Something I hadn't pointed out, but is really worth mentioning is liquidity problems in the S&P 500. So whenever we skip a price, like there's not any volume traded at that price, it draws one of these little bars there. And there was a period where it was extremely rare. You didn't get very many of these. And now they're all over the place. Oh yeah, Victor, I totally forgot. No, I didn't pick up on that again today. I had been thinking about it. I don't know. I'm still kind of like I'm honestly unsure if all of the effort that would be required to do that would really be worth it. Is kind of my thing still. I'm kind of still thinking about it. I'm also kind of thinking that like having a like getting my socket thing working where there's a server that runs the machine learning part and all of that is probably it's probably something I would want to do first. I'm also thinking, oh, I should just make my platform. I don't know. You know what? Frederick? I'm just not feeling super motivated lately. When I get like to a final interview on a job interview, like it really takes it out of me for some reason. And you know, it's only been like 2 days, so I'm not like freaking out that like I didn't get the job or anything like that. I would expect it to still be a few days because they're probably interviewing other people, right? But like just the thought of like going through that again with another company just is really soul crushing. And the job market is really frustrating. That there are so many people out there that don't understand what's going on in the job market or refuse to accept that that's what's going on is really frustrating. And yeah, exactly. You need quickly achievable goals right now. Exactly. And I have put so much into this YouTube channel in the past 6 months, and I'm really proud of a lot of the content that we made. It was a lot of content that I was kind of like, well, this isn't the content that I want to make, but it should be popular. And like really only one of those videos was really very popular, and like YouTube killed it after a week or something. So a lot of me is sitting here like, man, I'm really just wasting my time. Like I like to trade. I'm going to keep trading, but like maybe I should just trade on my own if I'm going to have people harass me and shit. So like some of those, and then I just don't have the time that I would like to do things. Like I do have some ideas, and there is some programming that I can do, and like valuable things that I think I can do, and I can't because the kids. You know the YouTube channel Live Book That sounds familiar. I think maybe because there is a live stream with Bookmap that seems to get a lot of live stream views. That's one of the things that really starts to grate on me is like, it's like we're stuck at 16 viewers, which is actually slightly low historically. And the the live stream is not growing at all. So that's where I was like saying earlier that like, okay, well, like we got a good thing going with like the few of you guys that are here every day and everything, but it just doesn't seem very effective anymore at like doing anything like growing the channel or anything. And especially since like I can't take trades I'm not taking trades anyways. I think that at the very least I should be like, instead of talking with you guys, I should be streaming. I should be writing things. Streaming the indicators would be a win, more viewers, more attention. I don't know. You wanted to, we could have a screen that looks like this instead. Right? What I need is like a another screen or a virtual screen or something that would just be showing you indicators on ZN and ES, you know. Because like for instance, these ones over here, I have spreads, but I don't have market order imbalance or the level 2 ones on. Oh, you're giving me a shot. Oh, thank you. I don't know. I don't think that doing that would increase indicator sales though. Like, because wouldn't people just be like, oh, okay, I'll just watch Seth's screen instead of getting it? So you think that people watch that channel because they don't want to buy Bookmap? That's why that particular channel seems to do as well as it does. Meeting through taxable trading, working on projects is too distracting. Yeah, because I'm talking about like, oh, we're just going to keep this screen up. I think so. The other issue is that really we are recording the DOM so that I can go back and watch it. I don't want to screw that up either. Like bigger picture, I want to make my own platform. Why am I not just spending the 3 hours that we have here just only programming on that and ignoring you guys? The DOM is not interesting. It needs to be visually appealing. I find it visually appealing. But would this really be any more visually appealing? I don't know about that one, man. I guess I can do like the jigsaw chart on top of it, right? Okay, cool. And then you have one of those, and then you have this one over here too. Yes. How do I get it to disconnect? There you go. There you go. Super pretty stuff. Cool. I think to do that without cannibalizing what we do have, so like, look, we got this over here, right? And I can add some of those charts back on or something like that, but an audio notification? I don't know, man. I don't really feel like I have an argument against you. I just, for some reason, I don't think that would move the needle. Certainly, if my live stream was as popular as that would solve a lot of problems for us, but too many things that I would want to show and still record them, you know? I could stream twice. I could like stream to 2 separate channels at the same time. Oh, that would be weird. To have one be just the indicators. Octavia says I go back to watch your DOM and I all the time to see. Yeah, and I do too. And I make videos off of it too, where like, you know, every once in a while I do a short where it's like, this is what happened. Watch this. This is so cool, right? Actually, some of those videos where I do show the DOM have done well on TikTok. There's a few that have done well. You know, I think there's this larger thing that like YouTube doesn't like me for some reason. Because like the thing that should move the needle for us the most is the videos, the full videos. And like when I come back and I look at this, okay, hold on. Custom. Let's go back to 9/1. 2024 to now. So for the last 6 months. Okay. So here's the last 6 months. We published tons of videos, like way more frequently. And like, did it really change the number of views per day that we're getting? Really doesn't feel like that it does. You know? Be careful they don't like you showing that. So I've made this ton of content that should be moving the needle, and it's not. Trade NQ. You know what, though? So on some of those things, we have kind of said, oh, let's do degenerate stuff and everything, and then I kind of like don't stick with it, huh? Catch a net of degenerates and tried it. No, I think they would just hate me for that. I don't know. Oh, I have a question. Not sure if you missed it. Do you only use Ninja or do you have TradingView as well? If I'm going to look at stocks, I'll use TradingView because I don't have stock data. But it's mostly Ninja and Jigsaw. It might not be SEO optimized. Yeah, maybe the thumbnails are just not good enough. Teaching those who don't want to learn or are already taught can be difficult and aggravating. It is. It is. I tell you what, this trend that we've been getting here is pretty good. What is it? It's a real powerful flow coming through, and I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's just because of the Russia ceasefire thing kind of falling apart. Don't forget to add a bunch of hashtags with trading words and phrases. You need to target segments of the rod. Well, but I have made some videos that are meant to be more general audience ones. I tell you what, if there's a video on the channel and you think you have a better title for the video, we'll try it out. Thumbnail's a little bit harder. I wouldn't expect it to make a thumbnail for me, but you have ideas on titles, you can change them. But the other side of it is it's really just too late. You know, we put together an action plan. I think that we followed through on it for the most part. I've got 2 or 3 more videos to make here. After that, I'm not sure I can justify the time anymore. I don't even know if I'd be able to continue to pay the video editor. So at the very least, the videos that we'd get would have to go back to just me editing them. Okay. So I'm just hearing comments from Belarus about the US deploying missiles in Europe destabilizes this situation. And the S&P 500 has continued to fall and the treasuries are bidding. So it does seem like it is actually the geopolitical tensions that are possibly causing the treasuries to move here. Which is very curious because I wouldn't have expected that to be a major flow. But it really looks to me like a market that in the beginning was a very range-bound market up until basically the top of the hour, like until when we normally quit. And then it really took off. So, and let's see here. This feller is going to take his profits in 20 minutes. But I think I'm going to go wake the kids up and do all of that. Look, one thing that we can do, because again, it's like it's too late. When unemployment ends, I don't know if I can spend the time doing this anymore. But if I can find some way to fund development of a platform, that's a different thing, right? Like we're trying to bootstrap it. Well, if we just found a way to find funding, then that could maybe change the situation. Try a different thumbnail with a larger stack. Yeah, I mean, we can ask him to change it, but yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get going. I'll see you tomorrow, Friday. I should go skiing. Nothing solves problems like this like skiing. Okay. Stay excellent.